Set it to 170 degrees Celsius and let the oven do the work. What if you look back and realize the YouTube chef said so after putting your chicken in a closed space of 175 degrees for 10 minutes already? Well, that may not be anything to worry about. 5 degrees in difference won't ruin your chicken, of course, unless you have a very sensitive tongue. It's not even that big of a deal. But that's when what we're talking about is some proteins. If it's the Earth's temperature, a rise of 2 degrees can be as devastating as the crash of a giant meteorite. Why? Let me tell you what the future holds. But I must warn you beforehand, because that's not a very bright scenario. Melting glaciers. Let's set the clock back to 1800. It was the pre-industrial era. Sure, there were no cars, no bulbs, no telephones and internet, but it sure was a cooler place to live. Over the last century, our Earth has already witnessed a vertiginous increase in temperature. 1 degree Celsius between the pre-industrial era and today. While it's only 1 degree, it's really a problem we should all be worried about. 1 degree means we're halfway to 2 degrees. The level of increase that scientists predict would turn Terra to an almost inhabitable land. You know why? Because the glaciers will melt. Okay, what is a glacier anyway? Well, it's a persistent body of dense ice that is constantly moving under its own weight. 99% of glacial ice on Earth is contained within continental glaciers, the vast ice sheets in the polar regions, but glaciers may also be found in mountain ranges. These are the containers of most fresh water possessed by Earth, so if they melt down, the risk of water scarcity will accelerate. In fact, that's not an if. It's already happening. We are dancing on the knife edge of water deprivation, and there's more. Think about it. Glaciers are basically water in the form of ice. When they melt, that amount of dihydrogen monoxide has to go somewhere, right? It cannot disappear. So, where does it go? Well, some of it flows into large and unstable lakes. By unstable, I mean that they could easily burst and cause a deadly flash flood downstream. And glacial lake floods aren't just a prediction. They've happened multiple times in recent years. For example, thousands of pilgrims, tourists, and residents who came to visit Kedarnath in Uttarakhand, North India, were killed by this phenomenon in 2013. Theoretically, 15 million people are at risk of such a tragic death. And the devastating consequence list doesn't end there. The melting glaciers add to the rise of sea levels, which increases coastal erosion and elevates storm surge. Basically, we'll lose land and have to deal with more frequent and severe storms. Can you imagine losing whole cities such as Venice? Yes, that'll happen. If the sea level rises a few more inches, the pride of Italy will completely disappear. Coastal residents will suffer to pay disaster recovery bills, which are estimated to cost billions. And their fishery industries will be doomed because where and when fish will spawn will be unpredictable. Not what we would want to deal with, right? Dead coral reefs. Earth getting hotter means that there's an additional amount of heat, and it is absorbed by nothing rather than oceans. Inside warming oceans, coral reefs are turning white due to repeated marine heat waves. While it's true that sometimes the reefs can heal themselves and recover, it'll take a super long time for that to happen, and we'll get to a point where the damage overwhelms the ability of corals to bounce back. If the temperature of Terra increases by 2 more degrees Celsius, about 99% of existing corals will disappear. Magnificent reefs, such as the Great Barrier Reef of Australia, will soon become a story of the past. But no longer being able to witness such breathtaking sights is no loss compared to what will happen to marine life. With 99% of coral reefs gone, 25% of marine creatures would lose their habitat. It's like how destroying forests damages the life of land animals. Coral reefs provide essential food, shelter, and the spawning grounds needed for more than 1 million species survival. Even if you don't care about those creatures, you still really should be worrying about the existence of coral reefs. Besides being the rainforests underwater, they're also medicine chests of the sea. Plants and animals who call coral reefs their home are vital for developing new treatments for a whole bunch of diseases and ailments, such as Alzheimer's and cancer. When corals fade into the forgotten land, medical advancements will be way harder to achieve. I bet you don't want your own health to be at risk, do you? Food scarcity. As you heard, the disappearance of coral reefs will cause damage to the well-being of more than 1 million species. That'll surely result in us humans having less seafood to fill in our stomachs. But there's more to worry about. On a hotter Earth, we'll suffer from food scarcity. You know why? Well, first of all, on such an Earth, there'll be a way lesser amount of fresh water. Its quality will decrease too. Just like humans, cows, pigs, and chickens, they need water to drink too. If we don't have enough for ourselves, how could they? And where will we find enough clean water to grow vegetables and fruits? Even assuming somehow we could, global warming will stop crop yields. Rice, wheat, tomato, potato, apple, orange won't be produced half as much as they are now. Basically, everything you could find in your fridge won't be there anymore. To prevent that from happening, scientists will need to develop GMOs that require less water to produce more food. They've been trying for years, but have you seen much success? You got the answer. Shorter lifespan. Rising temperatures and changing rainfall patterns are enabling mosquitoes and many other insects to expand their habitat, and hence spreading of diseases such as malaria, dengue, West Nile virus, and Lyme disease. Data says that malaria-carrying mosquitoes have already been able to move into more temperate regions, and over the past century have elevated the range by about 6.5 kilometers a year, and away from the equator by 4.7 kilometers every year. While a dengue vaccine is available, it is not accessible worldwide. Moreover, waterborne diseases, the result of water quality decreasing, will also cost millions of lives. In that world where deadly diseases are everywhere, we'll have another disadvantage: weaker bodies. Having significantly less amounts of clean water and food available, the majority of us will be likely to suffer from dehydration and malnutrition. Such a body is super prone to diseases, for undernourishment weakens the immune system. If you're lucky enough to battle past cholera and such things, or don't even catch them at all, there's still much to worry about. Mental health. High temperatures, and especially heat waves, have been found to be associated with the rise in depression and anxiety in recent years. In fact, heat can be the reason why you feel irritated and can't sleep at night. With depression, anxiety, and irritation being intensified, you'll be likely to send yourself to the underworld. Grim Reaper won't even have to come to take your life. What to do to prevent all this? The future doesn't look so bright, but don't panic. You can save the glaciers and coral reefs as well as yourself. While glaciers and coral reefs are huge, we can save them by small actions. You sure have heard "go planting trees" time and time again everywhere. Yes, planting trees is important, but how can you alone plant a whole forest? That's not realistic. But there are many easy ways to add more green to your house. For example, just go buy a mini pot and grow a Japanese maple or small conifer. You'll see the difference in air quality after a while. You can stop cooking too much, then throwing the leftovers away. That's saving food for tomorrow. If you're not there to eat them, your children and grandchildren will. It won't go wasted. You can switch to solar energy if you haven't. Basically, glaciers can be saved by cutting down on CO2 emissions. If emissions are reduced by 45% over the next decade and fall to zero after 2050, our grandchildren's grandchildren may still observe the giant ice sheets and magnificent coral reefs in person, not only in pictures or videos. Okay, that's all for today. An overheated oven might not do harm to your chicken, but an earth slightly hotter will turn your life upside down. That won't be a cooler place to live. We'll be doomed. But there's still time to save ourselves and future generations. To start acting now is the only way to secure a bright future scenario. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button right there to avoid missing those videos. And before you leave, please give us a thumbs up to support our dedicated team members. Until next time, guys.